If you're a nurse, healthcare professional, or you're somebody working those long 10, 12, sometimes 15-hour days, and you've been trying to lose weight, you've probably had this experience before. Let me guess. You start a diet, you start working out, you tell yourself, all right, this time I'm serious. And you do good for a couple of days, right? You maybe do good for a couple of weeks. Then work gets crazy. You get tired, something happens with the kids, you don't have anything prepared to eat, you miss one workout, then you miss another one. Next thing you know, you're right back where you started. And then you start asking yourself, why in the world can I not stay consistent? And this is what I want you to understand, fam. You probably do not have an information problem. You already know that drinking water is better than drinking soda. You already know eating some chicken, rice, and vegetables is probably better than eating fast food every night, right? And you already know that moving your body consistently is probably going to help you lose weight, right? You know that. So the real question isn't, what am I supposed to do? The real question is, why am I not doing what I already know how to do? And that's what I want to talk to you about in this video, because once you understand that, weight loss gets a whole lot simpler, fam. It's something I see all the time is people trying to solve the wrong problem. They think things like, I need a better diet. I need a better workout. I need the perfect exercise. I need the best protein. I need the best supplements. I need to know whether I should eat carbs at night. And meanwhile, you work 12-hour shifts. You might be taking care of your kids. You might be taking care of your parents. You might have a husband or a wife. You might be working overtime. You're stressed. You're tired. Your schedule might change every freaking week. And then you download some program that tells you to work out on Monday, work out on Tuesday, work out on Wednesday, work out on Thursday, work out on Friday. Okay, what happens when you get called in on Wednesday? What happens when you only slept 4 hours last night? What happens when your kid gets sick? What happens when you don't have 90 minutes to go to the gym and train and do cardio? What happens when you walk in the break room after working 10 straight hours and somebody brought in food? That's real life. And that's why I learned over the years the best plan on paper means absolutely nothing if you can't consistently execute it in your real life. And that's the problem. A lot of people have plans designed for a life that they don't live, and then they can't follow the plan and they blame themselves. They say things like, I don't have discipline, I don't have motivation, something is wrong with me. No. Sometimes your system just sucks. Your system does not account for your actual life. And I had to learn this for myself. There was a point where I was all over the place too. I was trying to figure out the best workouts. I was trying to figure out the best foods, the best diet. I tried near every diet that you can think of. And I used to overcomplicate the crap out of fitness. I thought that there was some secret, some perfect system, some perfect combination of food and training that I just haven't discovered yet, or somebody just didn't tell me about it yet. And then eventually I realized that, bro, you already know what to do. The problem was I wasn't consistently doing it. Once I stopped trying to find the perfect plan and I started systematizing what I already knew worked, everything became simpler. And that's the same thing I teach now. Not perfection or some magic diet, not doing everything right every single day. Consistency in the right things long enough for them to actually work. And that is it, fam. So check this out. If you're somebody that keeps starting over, there are three things that I want you to look at. Number one, your plan has to fit your actual life, not the life that you wish you had, your actual life. One of my clients, Adriana, works 15 plus hour days, and she's also a caretaker for her mom. She doesn't even have a gym. At home, she has some 10-pound dumbbells, some 15-pound dumbbells, resistance bands, and a walking pad, and that's it. She also came to me dealing with poor eating habits, drinking habits, smoking, knee pain, and a mindset where she would sabotage herself on a daily. So, what would be the dumbest thing that I could ever possibly do with her? Give her a 6-day bodybuilding program that requires a fully equipped gym. It doesn't make any freaking sense, does it? But that's what you do. No, fam. We use what she had. We worked on her nutrition. We trained around her circumstances instead of pretending that her circumstances didn't exist. And over time, she lost more than 25 pounds. That's what I mean by building the plan around the person, not forcing the person into a plan. And number two, you need structure. My client Tiffany owns a franchise business working 12 plus hour days, a wife and a mom. When she came to me, her eating was all over the place. She didn't have any structure. She had very, very low confidence. And because she had a C-section, her core strength was extremely low. At one point, she couldn't even properly lift her legs, fam. So, what does she need? Definitely not more random workouts from Instagram. Not another list of healthy foods. She needed structure. So we adjusted her nutrition. We structured her gym schedule around running her businesses and her responsibilities. And we added accountability so that when life got busy, disappearing for 2 weeks wasn't the default option. She ended up losing about 30 pounds and building her core strength back up, fam. And understand what I'm saying, fully understand what I'm saying. She still had a business. She was still a wife and was still a mom. We didn't remove her life. No, we built the system around it. And number three, fam, you need a system for the days that you don't feel like doing it. This is where people get messed up. I'm going to repeat this. This is where people get messed up because everybody can follow a plan when they're excited, when they're motivated, inspired, encouraged. That's easy. That is super, super easy. The question is, what happens when you're tired? What happens after that 12-hour shift? What happens when you're upset? What happens when the scale doesn't move for 3 days or a week? What happens when you have a terrible week? That's where your system matters. One of my clients, Lynn, is a registered nurse. When she first came to me, she was close to 390 pounds. She was walking with a cane. Her energy was low. Her strength was low. Her eating habits were poor. Her confidence was low. So what did we do? We started building daily structure with her nutrition, daily structure with her training, and progressive training so that over time she could actually become stronger. But there was also a lot of mental work involved as well because sometimes the biggest fight isn't between you and the food, it's between you and the voice in your head telling you things like, what's the point? You always quit. You did it before and the weight came back. You never changed. Those are the things that people say in their head. So we had to work on that too. And Lynn went on to lose more than 70 pounds. And she got to the point where she wasn't walking with the cane anymore. Her confidence changed. Her confidence actually boosted. And as a byproduct, her career changed. She ended up getting promoted and running departments in a whole nother state as well as a whole nother country. Now listen to me, fam. I'm not telling you losing weight magically gets you promoted. That's not what I'm pushing. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that when somebody starts to keep promises to themselves, getting stronger, building confidence, and taking control of one part of their life, that has a way of showing up in other areas of your life as well. And that's exactly what happened to her, fam. You got to understand, this is why I don't like when people make weight loss unnecessarily complicated, because now you're sitting there thinking like, should I do keto? Should I fast? Should I stop eating carbs? Should I eat 6 meals? Should I eat 2 meals? Fam, we have to stop trying to solve the wrong problem. So, Miss Tracy, one of my clients, came to me after working with another coach. She was struggling with her nutrition. Her A1C levels were high enough that she had been told that she was pre-diabetic from her doctor, right? So again, did she need the internet's perfect diet? No. She needed nutrition that made sense for her, that made sense for her body, made sense for her age, the food that she actually likes, the way that she actually lives. So what do? We adjusted her nutrition, reduced the excessive sugar that she was consuming, and paired that with strength training 3 times a week. And over time, she lost close to 20 pounds. And her A1C levels returned to normal range. That is personalization. That is coaching. Because when you can make something realistic enough to repeat it, now it can actually become your lifestyle. I'm going to say that again. When you can do something enough and repeat it, it becomes part of your lifestyle. So here's what I want you to stop asking yourself, fam. Stop asking yourself, what's the best diet? Ask yourself, what can I actually repeat? Stop asking yourself, what's the best workout? Instead, ask yourself, what training schedule can I consistently execute on? Stop asking yourself, how do I get motivated? Stop asking about motivation. Instead, ask, what structure do I have for the days when motivation isn't there? Because motivation is going to leave. Your job is not to make sure you're motivated every day. Your job is to make sure your entire plan doesn't collapse every time you're not motivated. That is a completely different way to approach weight loss. And this is especially important when you're in healthcare, because your schedule is probably never going to be perfect. And you know that. There may be somebody who needs you, patients, coworkers, family, children, parents, everybody, right? But somewhere in that equation, you still have to exist. You still have a body. You still have goals. You still have health goals. You still have a life that you have to live when that shift ends. And if every single person and every single responsibility gets a piece of you except you, eventually that bill comes due. So if you're sitting right there and you're saying, all right, Coach Darius, what do I actually do? Coach Darius, what do I actually do? What I want you to do is start here. Stop trying to overhaul your entire life overnight. Build around the life you have. That's number one. And number two is create structure before you try to create any type of intensity, fam. Know when you're training. Plan it out. Know when you're eating most days. Plan it out. Know when there's going to get crazy at work. Know what your backup plan is, fam. You have to know these things. And number three, you have to create some sort of accountability, because knowing what to do and actually doing it, there are two completely different things. And you know that. And sometimes having somebody outside of your own head who can see what you're doing, adjust the plan, call you on your crap, and help you solve problems while they're actually happening in real time. That's the difference between another failed attempt and finally building momentum, fam. You know this, because here's what I don't want for you. I don't want for you another January coming. You lose the same 10 pounds again. You gain them right back again. And you tell yourself, this year's going to be different. And 5 years go by. That's the part no one talks about, right? The cost isn't just the weight, it's the time. is constantly thinking about your body, constantly feeling uncomfortable in your clothes, constantly saying to yourself, I know what to do. Why am I not doing it? It gets exhausting. But the alternative is you finally build something that works with your life instead of constantly fighting against your life. And that's where things can start changing for you. Now, if you're a healthcare professional woman and you're watching this thinking, Darius, this is exactly where I'm at. I know what to do. I just can't seem to stay consistent, and I need somebody to help me build this around my actual life. That's what I want to help women do. That's what I help women do. I work with busy healthcare professional women who want to lose weight, who want to rebuild their energy and feel confident in their body again without having to organize their entire life around fitness. If you want my help personally, there's an application below this video. Fill that out. I'm going to ask you a few questions about where you're at, what you're trying to accomplish, and what's been getting in the way. And if it looks like I can actually help you, we'll get on a call and talk about what that could look like. You can apply below, fam. And regardless of whatever you think or whether you work with me or not, remember this. You do not need a perfect plan. You need a system you can actually follow when life gets hard. Now, I'll see you in the next video.